There comes a moment when you simply release. You stop grasping. You stop checking. You stop hoping in desperation. And you know that the seed has been planted. You know that what you've imagined is already done. Not because you see it, but because you feel it. You carry within you the conviction that moves mountains without lifting a finger. To act as if you've let go is to surrender your grip on time, on outcomes, on conditions. It is to say, I trust the unseen more than I trust my current circumstances. It is to move with assurance, not because of evidence, but because of inner awareness. The universe begins responding the very moment you imagine. Not when you beg, not when you try to force it, but the moment you feel it real. And once the request is made, your only task is to align, to remain in the state of fulfillment, to stop digging up the seed, to check if it's growing. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you no longer doubt. It means you no longer chase. It means you allow. When you walk as if the miracle has already occurred, life reflects back to you a world shaped by your inner knowing. The universe becomes your servant, not through effort, but through harmony, through resonance. So ask yourself, what does someone who has already received their desire feel like? How do they move? What do they think? How do they speak? Be that now, not to impress the universe, but to synchronize with it. Because the moment you believe it is done, the universe must begin the arrangement. The how is never your concern. The timing is not your responsibility. Your only role is to live in the end, the inner end, where all things are finished. You will feel lighter when you truly let go. Not empty, but full of quiet certainty, full of peace, full of gratitude that transcends reason. And that's when the evidence comes, not to convince you, but to confirm what you already knew within. So breathe, stand tall, and walk this life as if you are already living the result, because you are, because it is done, because the universe is already working for you. Letting go is not a gesture of surrender to the external world, nor is it a resignation to fate. It is a sacred turning inward, a quiet, powerful acknowledgement that the greater intelligence within you knows the way. You are not abandoning your desire. You are releasing the need to control its unfolding. In that release, you step out of resistance and into alignment. You no longer grasp at life with trembling hands. You open your palms and trust. It is in this surrender that true strength emerges. Not the strength of force, but the strength of faith. The strength that says, I have imagined it, I have felt it real, and now I rest in the knowing that it is done. This isn't passivity. This is creative trust. The letting go is not an end to your creation. It is the sign that it has been accepted by the deeper self and is now set in motion beyond your conscious vision. When you let go, you cease trying to make it happen. You stop looking for signs, stop searching for evidence, because you already carry the feeling that it is so. You are no longer operating from lack, but from fulfillment. And in that shift, you open the channel. You allow the higher intelligence, that unseen creative power, to arrange all things perfectly. To let go is to believe that you are not separate from the power that creates galaxies. It is to recognize that this power flows through your imagination, your assumptions, your feelings. It is a movement away from anxiety into assurance, away from effort into ease. And in that moment, you are no longer the one who must make it happen. You are the one who allows it to unfold naturally, inevitably, gracefully. Your imagination is the secret transmitter. It is the invisible signal you send out, not to the skies above, but to the deepest layer of reality itself. Every time you imagine something vividly, every time you feel it real within, you are tuning your inner frequency to the world you wish to occupy. You are not asking, you are declaring, not wishing but assuming. This signal does not fade into silence. It is received instantly, by the universal intelligence that responds not to your words, but to your state. The universe does not operate on doubt, it listens to certainty, and that certainty is encoded in the feeling you carry. Your assumption becomes your command. Your inner experience becomes the blueprint. Once the image is formed, once the feeling is lived internally, you must trust that something has shifted. Even if your senses offer no proof, even if the world appears unchanged, the signal has already begun its work. Trust is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the quiet confidence that what you have conceived in consciousness has already been taken up by the creative power that governs all things. You don't need to know how it will come. You don't need to trace the path or calculate the route. Your task is to remain faithful to the tone you have set, to know that your imagination is not a fantasy, but a force that initiates movement, alignment, attraction. Once the signal is sent with clarity and conviction, the universe cannot ignore it, because the universe is responding to the truth you have embodied within. Faith is not hoping something will happen. It is knowing that it already has. It is the quiet conviction that what you've imagined is more real than what your senses currently report. Faith does not require evidence, it creates it. It lives not in the waiting, but in the fulfillment. To walk by faith is to walk from the end, not toward it. The unseen is not a distant realm. It is the cause of all that is seen. The inner world, your imagination, your assumptions, your felt experiences, is where everything begins. Faith anchors itself in that invisible foundation. It does not ask for signs or permission. It moves with the calm assurance that reality is already bending to the shape of the inner picture. To have faith is to occupy the state of your desire before it arrives. It is to carry the energy of the outcome before it touches the physical. This is not delusion, it is creation. You are not fooling yourself, you are forming yourself. Faith lets you taste the future in the present moment. It lets you feel the joy before the evidence, the love before the relationship, the success before the recognition. And as you dwell in that unseen reality, as you persist in the assumption that it is done, the outer world begins to shift. Not by force, not by chance, but by law. Because you are no longer reacting to the world, you are living from a new one. A world where your desire is fulfilled, your prayer answered, your imagination made manifest. You don't chase what's yours, because what is truly yours is drawn to you by law, not by effort. The moment you begin to chase, you declare its absence. You affirm that it is separate from you, far from you, beyond you. And in doing so, you push it further away. But when you align, when you become internally one with the thing you desire, it begins to move toward you as if by magnetism. To align is to match the inner frequency of already having. It is to think, speak, and feel from the version of yourself that already holds the outcome. Not in fantasy, but in identity. You don't look outward and hope it comes. You turn inward and assume it's done. That assumption creates a shift, a realignment of energy, of perception, of self-concept. And from there, the outer world adjusts to meet the new vibration. You become a living invitation for what you desire. You radiate the essence of it. You walk in the feeling that it is already here. Not because you need to prove anything to the world, but because you've proven it to yourself in the silence of your mind. And that is when things begin to unfold, effortlessly, naturally, in harmony with your state. What's meant for you doesn't need to be hunted down. It responds to your inner state, not your outer striving. The more you become it, the more it is drawn to you. The more you live in the end, the more the end rushes to meet you. It's not about force, it's about alignment. It's about becoming so inwardly secure in your desire's reality that the outer world has no choice but to reflect it back to you. Detached from time and how, because both are illusions that distract you from your true creative power. Time whispers, it's taking too long. The mind demands, how will it happen? But your role is not to manage the clock or control the process. Your role is to remain in the state where it is already done, to feel it so deeply, so convincingly, that time becomes irrelevant and the method unnecessary. When you are loyal to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are no longer looking ahead, you are living from the end. You are not anticipating it, you are embodying it. That inner conviction sends out a command, silent yet powerful, to the unseen forces of the universe, and everything begins to shift to reflect your new inner stance. The how is the domain of the higher power, the unseen intelligence that coordinates events beyond what the mind can plan. Trying to figure out how it will come only roots you in limitation. It places you in the state of separation rather than union. But the feeling of the wish fulfilled, that is your compass, your anchor, your home. When you stay loyal to that feeling, you become the version of yourself who has already received. And that version does not worry. That version does not watch the clock. That version knows it is already done and walks in peace. The more you dwell in that state, the more life conforms to your assumption. Not because you fought to make it happen, but because you refuse to step out of the act. The seed doesn't need help to grow. It already carries within it the full design, the complete pattern, the finished result. It does not need to be pushed, forced, or urged into becoming. All it needs is the right environment, the right soil, and it will do what it was created to do. Your desire is the same. Once planted in consciousness, it begins its process of unfolding, unseen and silent, guided by a wisdom far greater than your consciousness. The soil in which this seed grows is not your effort or anxiety. It is your inner peace. That calm, unwavering stillness within you is the space where all creation takes root. When you are at peace, you are no longer disturbing the soil. You are not digging it up to check if the seed is growing. You are not doubting its presence or rushing its growth. You are trusting, you are knowing. Inner peace is not passive. It is powerful. It is the quiet strength that says, I know it is done. It is the environment in which the unseen becomes seen, not because you forced it, but because you allowed it. The more you dwell in that stillness, the more your desire grows beneath the surface, drawing all the necessary conditions to bring itself forth into the world. You don't grow the seed, you simply stop interfering with its natural process. And the way you do that is through your state, a state of confidence, ease, and unwavering inner harmony. When your mind is calm and your heart is steady, you have prepared the most fertile ground for the miraculous. Acting as if is not pretending. It is embodying the version of yourself who already lives in the reality you desire. It is not about faking a smile or forcing a thought. It is about stepping into the frequency of the fulfilled state and wearing it as your identity. Pretending is shallow and hollow. It is rooted in the awareness that the desire is still separate, but embodying is deep, quiet, and powerful. It comes from knowing that the desire is already yours and that you are simply aligning with it. When you embody the wish fulfilled, you shift your posture, your tone, your choices. Not because you're performing, but because your self-concept has changed. You begin to think like the person who has, not the one who wants. You feel the relief, the satisfaction, the confidence of the one who already lives the result. You no longer ask if it's coming, because in your world it already has. This embodiment is magnetic. It draws the outer experience into harmony with your inner reality. Life responds not to what you say, but to who you are being. When you are being the version of yourself that already possesses the desire, you collapse the gap between imagining and receiving. You walk in the vibration of completion, and the world bends to match it. It's not a matter of forcing belief. It's a matter of relaxing into the truth that your imagination is the only reality. And when you live from that inner truth, you no longer need to wait for external permission. You give yourself the authority to become it now. The delay is not denial, it is divine orchestration beyond your sight. What seems like waiting is not a punishment, it is preparation. It is not that your desire has been ignored. It is that the unseen intelligence is aligning people, places, and timing with a precision your mind could never fully comprehend. The pause is not a rejection. It is a gentle shaping of events, so that the manifestation can unfold in its most perfect form. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean nothing is happening. Just because it hasn't appeared yet does not mean it isn't on its way. The moment you impressed your desire upon your imagination, it was heard, received, and activated. But the outer world must shift, and sometimes those shifts require what appears as time. During this period, things are being rearranged, opportunities are being formed, paths are being cleared, all for you, all through you. This orchestration operates on a higher intelligence, a rhythm beyond logic, a timing that serves your highest unfolding. If it arrived too early, it might slip through your fingers. If it came before your self-concept was ready to hold it, you might not recognize it or sustain it. So the delay is a gift, disguised in stillness. It is not a void, but a sacred unfolding in the invisible. The deeper your trust, the quieter you become in the waiting. You begin to see the space between desire and manifestation, not as emptiness, but as sacred design. You stop asking when and start saying thank you. You stop questioning the process and start resting in its perfection. And it is in that rest, in that surrender, that the divine orchestration completes its silent masterpiece. When you let go, you step out of the cycle of reaction. You are no longer tossed by appearances, no longer ruled by the fluctuations of circumstance. You stop treating the outer world as the source of your reality, and instead you begin to respond from a deeper place, from knowing, a knowing that what you have imagined is already true, already done, already on its way. Reactions come from fear, from doubt, from the belief that something outside of you has the power, but responses arise from inner certainty. When you let go, you no longer need to defend, chase, or control. You are rooted in the unseen truth, and that truth becomes your anchor. So even when things don't look like they're working, you remain still inside. You respond with calm, with trust, with grace. Letting go doesn't mean indifference. It means stability. You are no longer swayed by delays or detours. You understand that everything you encounter is part of the unfolding, and you meet it from the end, from the perspective of one who already has what they asked for. Your reactions become measured, intentional, grounded in the assumption of fulfillment. You stop looking to the world for reassurance. You stop needing signs to prove it's working, because your sense of reality is no longer shaped by what you see, but by what you've accepted within. That inner knowing governs your choices, your tone, your energy, and in that place of inner composure, the outer world slowly begins to reflect the steadiness you have claimed. You are not manifesting alone, because the moment you assume your desire is real, unseen forces begin to move in harmony with your assumption. You are never isolated in your creation. The universe, in all its vastness, becomes your silent partner. Every person you meet, every opportunity you notice, every coincidence that appears, they are not random. They are responses, echoes, reflections of the inner world you have accepted as true. Your thoughts are not just private musings. They are creative acts. Your emotions are not meaningless waves. They are energetic signals. When you shift your inner state, you do not merely change your mood. You change the structure of reality itself. The universe responds not to effort, but to alignment. It does not obey force, but feeling. You are not moving mountains by physical labor. You are moving them by spiritual law. You are not pushing the world. You are drawing it toward you, and it responds precisely to the tone of your being. That is why your inner work is everything. The more you feel it real, the more life bends to accommodate the vision you've nurtured in silence. Every event begins to organize itself around your new identity. Things fall away. New paths open. People are drawn to you not by what you say, but but by what you emanate. The universe is not resisting you, it is listening to you. It listens not to your wishes, but to your convictions. It reflects the truth you hold within. And as you persist in the feeling, as you dwell in the end, reality starts to mirror that inner assumption with increasing accuracy. Not because you forced it to, but because you finally aligned with what was always waiting to be expressed through you. You know that creation begins within, not with striving, but with stillness. Not with force, but with faith. You no longer need to chase, prove, or plead. You only need to be, to dwell in the end, to carry the quiet confidence that the universe is already responding to your inner world. Let go. Trust. Embody the version of yourself that already has what they once desired, and watch as the unseen unfolds before your very eyes, not as a miracle, but as a reflection of the truth you chose to live. Thank you for listening. Thank you for remembering who you really are. And thank you for choosing to walk in the knowing that it is already done.